Hello friends, in today's video I will show you how you can use the job data that you push from a bunch of different job boards, for example from timify.com, which aggregates over 10 different job boards, and how you can then analyze all of that data inside of a Clay table. So all of this data is the data that is arriving into Clay, and then how you can basically interpret all of this job data and personalize outreach to the hiring stakeholder. So stay tuned. In this video I'll walk you through step by step how to do that. And if you like this video, the rest of it will be taught inside of the course, which will be linked right underneath in the link in the description below the video. So let's get on with it. The first company table, which is the company hit list, the second table with the open roles. And if you click on this over here, you should see that basically these are all the details so far that we have about the role. So we have their salary minimum, salary maximum, we have the salary currency, the employment type, if it's full-time or not full-time, the normalized title, so this will be the cleaned up job title. So for example, if it says like operational specialist PT, which PT stands for part-time obviously, in that case it will be cleaned to operational specialist just on its own. And finally, you have the company URL, which is basically the LinkedIn company, like the link to the company's LinkedIn. And then finally, you have the URL of the job posting itself. Now, this is the most important part, and it should be over here on the right-hand side, which is job LinkedIn URL. And what we want to do as a next step is we want to scrape that job, and we want to see if it qualifies for our agency services, right? So the way we'll do that is we'll click on Add Enrichment, and we'll type in Clayagent. You should see that Clayagent costs 1 credit per row, but I'll, of course, teach you later down the line how you can spend literally 0 on all of these kind of enrichments and stuff. So don't worry if it's costing you, a couple of credits here or there right now. Just you can watch the other module and teach you how to basically spend 0 inside of Clay. And here we are. All you need to do at this moment in time to get yourself a really quick win is to copy and paste this exact prompt from the Google Docs, which is linked underneath the video, wherever you're watching it. So all you're going to do is copy and paste it. And all you're going to do is basically copy and paste the prompt. And over here, you would see that it says, here is the website to visit. And at this moment in time, you're probably thinking, okay, cool. The job LinkedIn URL is right here. And you want to say, hey, go visit this job LinkedIn URL. This is the number one thing that most people get completely wrong inside of Clay. And it's like those tiny little details that hold them back from being successful inside of the Clay sheets. So you would always use the backspace, so the slash, in other words, like this slash thingy, to identify a specific column that you're referencing. So in this case, I'm going to look at this, and it's called job LinkedIn URL. I'll say slash job LinkedIn URL. You can select it here, and voila, you've got that over here. On top of that, where you have the models over here, you can basically click on the model and select the model that you want to use. So you would see here that you would need to pay for Clayagent, but for something like Anthropic at the bottom here, it costs the same amount, but you can get an external API. And we'll talk about it in a separate module, but just to basically give you a rough idea. So for most of the most simple tasks, where it's just basically using ChatGPT, you can use the cheaper model, which only costs you 1 credit usually. But for the more expensive stuff like scraping and interpreting job boards, you'll probably pick the most expensive one. So in this case, I'm going to pick Sonnet, Claude 3.5. Once again, you can do that, or you can use your own. You can use like any other one, and they will probably still work. But actually, just use Claude 3.5 Sonnet to stay on the safe side. And all we're going to do after you copy and paste this prompt is to click on Save and Don't Run. Now, the reason that we say Save and Don't Run is because we don't want to, by accident, run this column and then realize like, oh crap, the prompt was wrong and the output is rubbish, right? So what we're going to do is we will click on Run over here, and we will see the output for one individual job to see if it's correct or not. So let's wait for this to load. Now, luckily here, since I'm an absolute genius at creating such prompts, obviously that's sarcastic, right? Over here, we basically just found the job description, which was scraped directly from the website. And then it also provides you with reasoning, but obviously, as nice as it is to see the reasoning, you can't really automate, like you can't really do much with the reasoning here, right? So all we're going to do is we're going to look at the response here. And if we click on the actual cell, and if we click on the response, we can edit it as a separate column. And we can title this column something like job description, right? And we'll create the column. Now, at that moment in time, you would see that we've actually done quite a few steps here, right? So I would say that's the first thing to keep things organized inside of Clay, to not over confuse yourself, is to click on this exact column heading. So if you just click on it, left click, and click on rename column, you can then type in step 1, grab job description. So every time that you're looking at this spreadsheet, you'll be like, oh crap, the first thing I'm going to do here is grab the job description. And it makes sense. Now, as a next step, I don't really remember what we're doing now. So the next step will be finding a specialty skill from a job description. So once again, all we're going to do is a quick copy and paste win right here. We'll basically copy and paste the thing directly from the Google Doc, which is linked underneath the video, wherever you're watching it. And what we're going to do here is we'll click on Add Enrichment again. And for context, every single time, just click on Add Enrichment. It genuinely doesn't matter. Literally every single time, all you have to do is click on Add Enrichment. And this time, we're going to type in ChatGPT. Now, the difference is, and I'll explain this later down the line in the course, there are separate videos, separate modules, all of that good stuff, right? But the idea is quite simple. The reason that we used Clayagent earlier was because we need to scrape a website. So that's where we use Clayagent, to visit a website, to visit a landing page, to visit something and interpret the information. Now, if it's as simple as we feed information into AI, for that, all we need is ChatGPT. So all we need to do is basically use OpenAI, GPT 4.0, and we're just going to get a quick win by copying and pasting the prompt. And we're basically saying, hey, we're giving you the job description. All I want you to do is grab the specialty skill from the job description, right? And once again, we'll basically say over here, this is the input. We'll click on slash, and then we'll then select the job description. At that moment in time, we will save and don't run, because as always, it's stupid to waste so many credits, right? And in the background, what I'm going to do as well, because I'm so well organized inside of Clay, is at the top over here, you see the pen icon. And just to not forget this, I'm going to type in step 2. Grab specialty skill from job description. Right? At that moment in time, I'm going to save and not run. And hopefully, right now, what we're going to do is grab the specialty skill. So I'm going to just queue it for one specific output. And I also gave it a prefix. And once again, don't worry if you don't know what a prefix is. Honestly, it's a safe space. And I'm open to, I'll be teaching all of this anyways. But the prefix is basically when you say, hey, I want you to fit this specialty skill in this specific sentence format. And then later you can basically personalize the email from that. So in this case, I'm saying, hey, saw the mention of this specific thing, and this specific thing will be replaced by the specialty skill. So in this case, it will be saw the mention of SAP. I don't know what SAP stands for. I guess it's probably a specific term for, I don't know, supply chain or operations or whatever. And straight away, okay, here we are. Happy days. For some reason, it didn't rename the column, so we'll redo it again now, because once again, I don't mean to confuse myself or you guys. So I'm going to say step 2, and we'll say grab the specialty skill from description. Right. Once again, we can click on the output here. We can click on response, and I will add it as a column. So straight away, all you need to do is click on that, click on add as a column, and I will call it specialty skill. And I'll say saw the mention of, and create the column. So that will be the column on the right-hand side over here as well, right? So far, I think we've come quite a long way. In 18 minutes, if you're watching this at 2x speed, by the way, that's literally 9 minutes. So in the last 20 minutes or so, we already found the job description. We scraped it. We were able to pick out the specialty skill. And guess what? That's not the end of it. I can literally teach you a lot more throughout this whole process. Now, next up, what we need to do is we need to think, okay, who do we want to find as the hiring stakeholder within this specific company that's hiring for this specific role, right? So what I'm going to do is click on Add Enrichment again, and I'm going to type in find contact. And once again, find contact. Should come up with this filter which says find contacts at the company. It will cost you 1 credit per row. And once again, don't worry about the credits for the time being, because I'm going to teach you how to absolutely life hack the hell out of this later down the line. So we'll click on find contacts at the company. And in this case, it's actually quite a tough choice, because in theory, we can just, let's save results in this table. Let's not overcomplicate things. So we'll save results in this table. And at the very bottom here, I'm going to just limit it to just one person. So at the very bottom here, you've got the limit. So I'm just going to limit it to one person working at the company. because I don't want to have a bunch of different people to reach out to. So at that moment in time, we can type in the company identifier. So the company identifier is what company does this individual work at? And once again, in this case, we'll click here and we'll basically find the company domain, which is coca-cola.com, right? You could also do it the other way. You could do it with a company LinkedIn URL thing, but I just prefer doing it with a website because that's just a habit that I've formed over the last year or so. And then finally, we'll go after job titles. I mean, you can look at job title seniority and look for C-level and all of that boring stuff. For the purpose of this demo, I'm literally just going to go on keywords. I'm going to type in a random word like operations, and I'm going to type in head over here. So it'll basically be any head of operations globally, which is quite a rubbish search, but you get the idea. And we'll basically continue to add fields. And what we want is the output of their first name, their last name, and actually full name. And I'll show you why we want the full name as well later down the line. And at the same time, we want their job title, we want their country, and maybe we want, we have the company domain already, so we have the company website. So we'll basically save and don't run again, because once again, we don't want to waste credits. And at that moment in time, we're basically just going to run one of the rows. And let's see what magic this comes up with. So it found 2 people in total, but bear in mind I limited to the search of one person. It basically gave us this specific person, which is Ali Baradawala. And they're the global head of strategy and operations. They work in the US market. And at this moment in time, we basically need to rename this column again, because we'll basically call it step 3, I think. Step 3, find hiring stakeholder. Now, as a next step, we would basically need to find the person's email address. Now, the way we'll do that is by clicking on add enrichment. We'll basically type in email. And since, to be honest, it's quite expensive to find an email, I don't really have a preference for an email provider or anything of that sort. So I'm just going to go with something boring. I'll probably say something like Lead Magic, because I think Lead Magic is one of my favorite ones. And I'll click on Find Work Email. And all we need for this is the name of the person. So this should be automatically selected, but still, let's just keep it at this. So we'll select the name of the person and we'll select the company domain. And this is the 2 things that you need whenever you want to find anyone's email. You basically need their full name and the domain. And if you find those 2, you should be absolutely fine. At that moment in time, we're going to click on Continue to Add Fields, and we would look for status over here to make sure that we understand that the email is valid, or sometimes it's invalid. So you need to do something else about it afterwards. And we will then click on save and don't run. So at that moment in time, I'm going to click on this play button again. And let's see, hopefully it comes up with a good email address, so I don't need to show you how to troubleshoot, because that will be a whole separate lecture. And luckily for us, yes, it found an email address. So far, what we've done up to this point is we basically scraped the job title, we found the hiring stakeholder, and it's just about time to basically generate some really boring email copy that we can send out to this specific individual over here. So what I'm going to do right now is first of all rename this. So once again, so it says step 4, and let me do that right away. The last thing, and this thing will be absolutely magical if you're relatively new to Clay, so really remember this moment. For now, you will click on Actions, and you will click on Draft Email. And once again, for the time being, if it doesn't give you an action of drafting an email, what you may need to do is, so right now, actually, my bad, it wouldn't give you an option to draft an email just yet. So once again, I love a bit of troubleshooting. This will be next level. What we need to do is go to the very bottom of this table, click on the toggle thing, and click on Convert to Custom Table. Now, a custom table will basically enable you to write an email to this person straight away, in simple terms. And you will click on Actions, and over here at the bottom, you should now see that there is a draft email icon, so you can click on that. And what we're going to do is going to hopefully show you how straightforward Clay actually could be. So what we're going to do here is type in hi, and then we'll use the backslash thing that I taught you at the start. Or, well, I didn't really teach you, but you get the idea. If all I'm going to do is click on slash first name, and we're going to basically type out the whole email from scratch. So I'm going to say, hi first name, noticed the job opening for and then backslash, job title, and once again, now we can use the output from the previous sentence, which is going to be that saw the mention of. Now I basically typed out some really mediocre copy over here, and like you would see what it looks like as the final output in a second. We'll title it something like, I don't know, open roll, because we don't really worry about it for the time being. And what we've done here is now we're going to click on save and don't run. And we're basically going to then see the email copy on the very right hand side here. So for the one column where we generated the email copy, this is what it would look like. Hi Ali, noticed the job opening for an operations lead, and I saw the mention of SAP. If I could share 3 candidates that may be a fit for the role, would that be useful? And now, of course, you would tell me like, hey, this is crap copy. Why is this not capitalized? Because obviously that was a typo from my side. And it doesn't look very good. But what we learned throughout the process of creating this clay table is more important than the final output. And what we learned so far is how to scrape a website, how to get AI to interpret the output, how to actually then grab the specialty skill, and how to put it into an email template. Now, of course, on top of that, if you really want to be a perfectionist, which I don't really want to be, but I guess for the purpose of this video, I really need to show off my clay skills to reassure you that you're in good hands going into the next couple of videos of the course. All you basically need to do is click on note. You just basically correct some of the mistakes. And typically, what I'll teach you later down the line is that before you even create a clay table, you need to have the final email template right in front of you, so you don't have this procrastination at the very end of trying to think like, oh, hey, crap, how do I connect this to sound like a functional sentence, right? So, of course, I can try and rescue the table right now, but for future reference, you need to have a final output in mind, write down all the individual steps that you need to take, and only then enter the clay sheets. And don't worry, because this entire course will handhold you from the state of knowing zero, absolutely nothing, to teaching you how to run all of these clay tables, workbooks, and all of those crazy workflows that you probably saw on LinkedIn, posted by guys like me, or on YouTube, or somewhere like that. And I'll show you how you can do that in the most cost-efficient manner. And now, if you like this video, you would absolutely love the Unlock Clay for Recruiters course, which is the best and the only clay course specifically tailored to staffing agencies and recruitment agencies out there. So if you want to check that out, by all means, go to unlockclay.com/recruiters. And once again, you can read through tens of testimonials from staffing agencies or lead generation agencies just like yours who are trying to figure out how to use clay for your staffing and recruitment needs. So if that's you, go check it out. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you like this one if you watch this far, and make sure to comment something nice and consider subscribing to the channel. Anyways, over and out. See you later.